If you or someone you know is struggling with alcoholism or addiction, do not hesitate to reach out for help. You can find numerous free resources on our website, thebeginagainpodcast.com, and there are tons of resources and support networks available online, in person, or just a phone call away. You don't have to face this challenge alone. Welcome to the Begin Again podcast. I'm your host, Gary Menkes. On the Begin Again podcast, we delve into the inspiring journeys of individuals who have overcome alcoholism and addiction and emerged as true trailblazers in entrepreneurship, business, sports, and beyond. Through authentic, uplifting, and profound conversations with our guests, we aim to shatter the stigma surrounding addiction and demonstrate that recovery can be a catalyst for remarkable success, strength, and resilience. We firmly believe that by listening to these accounts, you will be empowered to unlock your own potential, instigate positive change in your life, and contribute to the creation of a better world. So, get ready to be inspired and embark on your own personal journey of growth with the Begin Again podcast. Welcome back to the Begin Again podcast. I'm your host, Gary Menkes. And joining us today with this incredible story is Ruben Palomares. Ruben grew up in some of the toughest gang-infested barrios in Los Angeles. He started boxing early on, became a Golden Gloves champion, and was a sparring partner for the likes of Oscar de la Hoya and Sugar Shane Mosley before becoming a real-life 21 Jump Street narcotics cop for the LAPD, working undercover in a local LA high school. Suffering from PTSD from a shooting incident, Ruben also went down a darker path, becoming the leader of a rogue cop gang, which led him in federal prison. But today, Ruben lives a different life, a true redemption song, a life dedicated to helping others not go down the same path, helping them heal, and being a constant inspiration. Ruben, what a bio. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Good times.
Oh, yeah, good times, I'm sure. So tell us, bring us back. I know you started boxing early on. You grew up in a tough area.
Yeah, I grew up in my childhood. We came from Mexico, so I grew up in LA. Some of the areas were Huntington Park, Boyle Heights, and because I grew up around some uncles that were, when I came from Mexico, they were already living in South Central. They were a pretty tough guys. They were in the area where there's a lot of gangs, you could say, mainly like the Crips and stuff. But this is like in the 70s, right. And during that time, you know, you didn't have a lot of Latinos or Hispanics in that area yet. They were moving in finally, but you know, I guess they had to do it to stay strong, protect themselves, right?
Sure.
So my uncles already had that frame of mind of tough guy mentality. They tried to instill that in me as a kid. I didn't agree with gangster, but I didn't disagree with the tough guy mentality.
Sure.
And growing up like that, and then having a stepdad who was an alcoholic, who had a lot of anger, and he was a strong alcoholic with a lot of bitterness and anger. Getting the physical and verbal abuse from him, it toughened me up a lot more. So I took that as just a way to be tough, the way I was treated by him. I just thought that's how you're supposed to treat a boy growing up in this area, to make him tough. And it made me too tough. But then me being in the environment, I never liked to be disrespected or be bothered by anybody. So I was always into fights. I fought a lot. My uncles instilled that in me too. They told me never back down. You know, never let anybody disrespect you. And if they do, no matter who they are, you gotta take off on them. You gotta make sure you stand up to yourself. And if you gotta fight, you fight. But no matter if they beat you up or not, you gotta fight. So I had that frame of mind. I'm not backing down. And then I started taking karate at 10 years old. And karate was okay, but something. I mean, I like boxing. I really like boxing a lot. And I was told by an uncle that he knew a gym he's going to take me to. And I said, okay, well, let's go to the gym. But he would drag it on and he wouldn't take me. My mom, behind my back, told him to make me think he was going to take me, but never take me because she didn't want me to box. Yeah. So I couldn't find out. So I one day just get on the bus with one of my buddies, and we would get on the bus and go to this gym in Hollenbeck in the East LA area called Hollenbeck Youth Center, and ran into the coach and told him I want to learn how to box. First day, he told me to go in the ring and spar with somebody. First day, just to test me out, throws me in the ring. I mean, the guy had experience. I didn't know anything about boxing. I just knew that I wanted to go in and throw some punches, right? And I liked it. I'm back the next day, and I got addicted after that. It was a rush. It was fun boxing, and I got hooked. And then in 1984, I'm 14 years old. Paul Gonzalez won the 1984 Olympics gold medal, and he was one of my sparring partners because I grew up with him. His trainer was my trainer. Al Stanky, Memo Real, those were my trainers at the gym during that time as a kid. They saw the potential in me, and then I started sparring with Paul, and I started sparring with a lot of the guys in there, and then I started thinking about the gold medal, because I said, well, you know, Paul got to 84 Olympics, I could go to the Olympics too. So my mind was set to go train hard and fight the tournaments I need to fight to get to the Olympics. I didn't know if it was going to be 88 or 92 Olympics. I just knew that I wanted to go to the Olympics and get a gold medal. I started training hard, fighting Golden Gloves, Diamond Belt tournaments, Golden Bear tournaments, big tournaments. I was winning these tournaments, and I was coming up in the boxing rank. I got to 125 pounds, so I stayed at that weight, and I started sparring with De La Hoya. He was 132, but we sparred a lot together. Him, Shane Mosley, all the guys that were coming up in the ranks, in amateur ranks, we would spar a lot, and we had some fun sparring matches. I didn't fight him because he was heavier than me, but had it happened, I would have loved fighting him. But during that time of just sparring, we sparred a lot. His trainers knew me. We knew each other pretty good. Then in the process, of course, getting ready for the Olympics, I started getting real serious about it. Then before the 92 trials, 91, I broke my thumb. I got injured. I got sick, ear, throat infection, and I couldn't make the trials, the box offs. So that was a very disappointing moment for me, because I trained so hard just to get to that point.
Sure.
I got, just disillusioned. I was upset, but I knew I had a different goal too. I knew I thought my goal was to go to the Olympics to get a gold medal, and then become a cop and be a mentor for the kids. Because Al Stanky was a mentor. He was a cop. My trainer was a cop for LAPD, and I liked the way he looked out for us. He took care of the kids in the neighborhood. So I thought that me growing up in this environment, I can be a mentor for the young kids too. So I joined LAPD. I went through the whole hiring process, took every test I needed to take to pass. I qualified, I passed. I got hired in 1993 to be a cop. I worked, I got out of the academy, and I went to work South Central patrol, night shift, which is a graveyard shift, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So here I am working patrol, doing my thing. And then they called me from the Undercover narcotics unit, and they asked me if I wanted to work undercover in a high school, like 21 Jump Street. And I looked young back then, and I told them, well, yeah, sure, I'll try it out. So he sent me to that unit, and then they started training me how to be an undercover cop, how to talk, how to fit in with the kids. I go back to the 11th grade, and I'm 23 years old by this time. I still look young, so I still could fit that image, right? So there I am in school, and my goal is to see who's selling drugs, buy drugs, and see if there's any weapons in school, guns, and buy the guns if I can. Be a student, don't be a student, but be a rebel that fits in and can get in with the kids and buy the dope and do what you have to do to make arrests. So there I am buying drugs and fitting in with the kids. And in maybe in a month into the whole school, some kid hits me up and tells me he has PCP for sale. So I said, well, how much do you have? He said, well, I have it at home, but once I go home, I could pay you. Because this was 1994. He says, I could pay you and let you know what I have so you can bring the money tomorrow. So during that night, he pages me and I go to a payphone, because we don't have no cell phones back then. It was all payphone and pagers. Yeah. So this is in the early 90s. So I go to a payphone, I call him, and I talk to him, and I tell him, hey, so what much you have? He goes, I got this much, $80 worth of it. I go, okay, well, tomorrow I'll buy it off you. So when I'm on the phone hanging up on him, two older guys, older gang members walk up to me. One of them puts a gun to my stomach, and the other guy corners me to my left side, and now they're going through my pocket, and they want to rob me. They don't know I'm an undercover cop. They don't even know that I have my badge in my rear pocket. They don't even know I have a gun in my rear waistband. But I don't want to find out, because I don't want to get shot just because of some simple, slack off move on my part too. So I start distracting the guys. I give him my money. I tell him this is all I have. The guy's insisting to get my wallet. He's saying to give up the wallet, he's going to kill me. He don't know I have a wallet, but I keep telling him I don't have a wallet. Well, the more he's trying to go through my pockets, the more I know that if I allow him to, he's going to find my wallet with my badge and my cop ID. So I backhand the guy, and I grab the guy's gun in front of me. So I backhand the guy to my left and grab the guy's gun in front of me. We fight for the gun. We fall to the ground. I have the barrel pointed towards him. His friend starts kicking me with his. So I'm blocking with one hand. I'm blocking kicks. The other hand, I'm grabbing the guy's gun, trying to pull it away from him. I can't go for my gun, so I'm in. Both of my hands are tied up. He pulled the gun away from me, pointed toward my head. Everything slows down. He pointed toward my head. I look over. I can see the barrel. I can see the gun, the bullet in the barrel, pointing towards my head. I grab the guy's kick and throw him over me. As I throw him over me, I stand up, and he shoots and hits my right leg. I turn on him, and he shoots my left leg. And I turn and pull my gun on. And I start shooting him. I chase him down. As I shot him, they turn the corner. He didn't drop. He turns the corner. The driver grabs him, throws him in the car, and they take him to the hospital. because they got arrested at the hospital. That's why I know this is what happened. They got arrested at the hospital with a bullet wound that he sustained from my shootout, from me shooting him. I go back to the payphone, call 911, and they come and treat me. The paramedics show up. The police department shows up. They get an interview on me. They ask all the questions. They take me to the hospital. I get treated that same night and treated and released for 2 bullet wounds, through both legs. So while this is going on, a lot of stuff's going on up in my head. Full speed ahead. The adrenaline had already calmed down, but this is where people don't know about PTSD or mental health. In the 90s, nobody talked about what happens when you get shot or you get a trauma in your life, or you come back from Vietnam. Because in the time where I was growing up, a lot of my friends, older guys, were from Vietnam. So they were like going through a lot of mental issues, but they didn't know what to do with it, or they didn't know what to call it. They didn't have a name for it. So during my time, I'm just thinking, you get into a situation, you deal with it, you conquer, you overcome, and you move on. But little did I know that it changed me inside a lot, because I was already raised in a violent environment. It just made me more violent and more hypervigilant, more in tune and aware of my area, my surroundings. I was already a martial artist. I was doing boxing, kickboxing, and I was doing a lot of mixed martial arts back then. So it elevated my training to be more aware, more in tune. I thought to myself, here I am, a martial artist, black belt, and still get shot. I'm thinking, man, what the hell did I do wrong? So I started blaming myself, going backwards and blaming myself, replaying everything, and being pissed off that I allowed it to happen. I think I should have been more aware. I shouldn't have been, because I was drinking that night too. That's my fault for drinking. I had been drinking shots with my buddies, and I thought to myself, all this is my fault. So I was blaming myself. I was pissed off, and the department awards me a Medal of Valor. It's a police medal, like a Medal of Valor, for that shootout, because they arrested these guys and they were doing a lot of robberies in the area. They're doing robberies. They were wanted suspects. They were wanted parolees. So they were dirty guys out there. And me shooting them and stopping their spree, well, they awarded me his medal, but they never sent me to get any mental health treatment or any psychologist or anything. They just sent me back to work undercover with my crutches still, fresh bullet wounds. And in my head, I'm thinking the department don't care about you. They just look at you as a number. Right. So now I am holding this bitterness and resentment towards the police department, thinking that F these guys, they don't even care about what happens to you. So I'm not going to be a number. I'm not going to be that person.
Yeah.
So I worked undercover unit, and then I told them to send me back to patrol. I want to go back to patrol. So they sent me to a division called, I asked to go to Rampart Division. Rampart's a busy division. I'm an adrenaline junkie back then. My addiction was adrenaline, and at that time, adrenaline, I was like, I need to have that action to feel good about and feel good inside, you know?
Yeah.
So there I am in Rampart Division. Rampart's a very busy, violent, gang-ridden, 8-mile square radius city that is vicious. It's that MS-13, 18th Street, Playboys. You got gangs from everywhere, from the Crazy Riders, Easy. You have gangs from all over Southern California. They're all Southside gang members, and they were at war during this time. They're all shooting each other daily. Rockwood, 18th Street at war. Diamond. There's like nonstop. So you see, when you go to work, you're gonna see a couple of drive-by shooting. You're gonna be at some. You're gonna respond to shootings, dead bodies, shot bodies, without wounded bodies. You're gonna see that every day when I worked. So there I am in the environment that I like. I like that, the adrenaline. So I'm working patrol for a little bit, and then I get recruited to work the gang unit, which is Rampart Crash. Rampart Crash deals with the gang problems. That's their job. They're elite, specialized unit. Then you're trained to go after the biggest gangbangers, gang problems, you name them. That's your job. And you have to work to make sure that you get the job done, and it has to be at all costs for the most part. So here I am working this unit and dealing with the victims too, because the victims will cry to you, but they won't press charges. Right. So there we are, trying to take care of business for these people, make it so they can be safe. So the unit introduced me to stuff that I didn't know exists in the departments, which is planting evidence on gang members, putting guns on them, just things to the extreme. And to me, I would see a gang member who robbed a family member, and the families won't complain. They don't want to press charges. So I thought in my mind, well, if I just put the dope on him, I'll get rid of him, because the family that are afraid of him, they're going to be safe. So he's still dirty for robberies, but I can't charge him for the robberies because the victims don't press charges. So in my head, I started justifying my behavior.
Right.
And in '98, I started working in another unit called the Field Enforcement Section, which is narcotics also. It's similar to the movie Training Day. You go out in the field, the street, you buy dope, you get informants, you do all kinds of narcotics intelligence and surveillance SIDS, undercover work, talking to people that are people in the neighbors, people that want to complain, or even informants. You got informants that are telling you where the drugs at, who's selling drugs. Well, I got into another shootout in that year with a guy that pulled out a shotgun on me, and when he pulled it on, I shot him with the 45. He ended up dying. I started getting addicted to the adrenaline more, but also the mentality of I'm not gonna get killed. I'm gonna make sure I'm first, and I'm not gonna give any opportunity for none of these individuals to shoot me again. Basically. In '98, Rafael Perez worked Rampart Crash with us. He gets arrested for some stuff he was doing, and he goes to trial. He gets 100. We think he snitches on the whole unit. Tells on the whole unit that we're doing all this police work against the gang members. And they open a big investigation on our gang unit, which is I'm in it. So we're all being investigated for the misconduct. And in my mind, I'm upset. I'm thinking, what misconduct? You guys accepted it, you guys approved it. So now we're the bad guys, but we clean up the streets, but we're the bad guys. Instead of me looking at everything from a different perspective, I'm looking at it in a us against them mentality. From there, I started getting more bitter towards the department. Because they started putting my partners under investigation and relieving them of duty without pay, and I saw that these guys, to me, I looked at them as hard workers. They were men that put their life on line to help people make the city safer. So in my mind, I'm saying, well, why are they messing with these guys? Why are they picking on them?
Yeah.
So because again, I have all these stored up issues, the anger, the PTSD, and I don't know. I'm just at that time I'm in a different state of mind, and I'm angry. I'm in a dark place. And I'm not giving an F about a lot of stuff. So I lose respect for the department. And then I start recruiting officers that are also mad at the department. And I told them that I'm going to go and start robbing the cartels and the drug dealers for the drugs and the money and start making money off them, collecting debts for people. So I reached out to a person that I know who was moving some drugs. And I told him to send me to collect the big debt and keep it between us. I said, this is between us because this stuff that I'm not playing around with. This real business. Anybody says I'm going to find you guys. You guys are going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
I goes, I'm not playing. So he sent me to go take a house down. And I came up with like about close to $1 million cash and like 15 kilos of cocaine. And my partner, we kept it. And we kept the money. I paid them. I was the boss. I paid them a little bit. And I also kept the 15 kilos. I had some guys move my drugs for me. So I got addicted to the easy money, the adrenaline more, and the fact that I was slapping these guys around, and the fact that I was also getting revenge. In my own head, I was getting revenge on the department. So I was on a revenge suicide spree too. Well, suicidal mentality. I was like self-destructive, not caring. So I did a few more houses like that. I got sent to take a few more houses down. I started getting really addicted. It was becoming easy for me. I'll steal the cop cars from the academy, and I'll go hit the houses, and they'll sell my drugs. It was one of those things where it became super like it was fun for me,
Yeah.
And I didn't think anything was bad because I was dealing with criminals. I said, well, they're not victims, they're criminals.
Right.
This part of the game, you get busted, you get caught. This is it. So in 2001, my cousin who was working for me, he starts doing his own thing on the side, which I had told him not to do that, and he starts doing things on the side, and he connected with these guys from Colombia or in San Diego, and they're making a so-called beating up to do some transactions. Which they want to buy cocaine off these Colombians. So my cousin and his friend asked me to borrow like $100,000, and during that time I had gotten like 50 kilos of cocaine, so I made a lot of money off that coke. So they knew I had money, and I said, "What do you need $100,000 for?" "We're gonna buy some kilos off some Colombians." I said, "I don't care about your stuff. I don't want to be part of your stuff, anyways." "No, lend me the money. I'll pay you back the same day with interest." And I didn't care about the money. I didn't need them. I had money, so I didn't need their money. But at the same time, I kind of have a lot of pride back then, so my pride was in the way.
Right.
So I told him, "Well, I'll lend you the money, but you better pay me back at the same day." So I lent him $100,000, and then while I'm talking to him, giving him the money, he says, "Hey, well, the Colombian guys looking for somebody to collect the debt for him. I told him that you might be interested." I wasn't going to do any of this stuff because in my head, I already had my own setup, my own connections. I didn't need nobody. But because I had pride again, I said, "Sure, I'll do it. I'll go talk to him." I went to meet him that day in San Diego. I was leaving, and they did the transaction, and by where the boats are at, the dock in that area. And it was a sting operation against my cousin and his friend, a DA sting operation against them. But I happened to be there. So I got taken down with them that day. That's when God rescued me, because I was not going to stop.
Yep.
So I get arrested. I'm really angry. I'm still bitter. I'm still blaming the world. I'm calling them snitches. I'm saying, you guys set me up. You guys are a bunch of rats. I'm going to whack you guys. I'm saying all this crazy stuff. And I didn't care. So when they arrested me, they're asking questions. I said, man, I want to talk to you guys. But little did I know that the guys that went with me, the 4 guys that invited me, had already been telling on me.
Oh, damn.
The same day they got in trouble, they were already telling on me. So I didn't know, and I was keeping my mouth shut. And I had told everybody, if you guys get in trouble, you guys take your lumps, man up. Don't be a bunch of coward snitches. But obviously they all cowered out and they started snitching. And then I didn't know this in the beginning. They take me to a different tank, to a different jail facility, and they take them separate. And they put me in the shoe, which is like a solitary confinement, basically. I get locked down in the shoe. They call it the hole, the shoe. I'm there by myself, and then the other people in my case, the 4 other people, are separated. They're on their own, and they're in a different jail building away from me. But I start hearing a lot of rumors, because I get the newspaper, and I start hearing that there's a lot of stuff coming out of my case. A lot of people are telling. I'm thinking, damn. And I start realizing that everything that they're talking is, these guys know about it. It's like, oh, these guys are saying stuff. In my head, I thought, I'm just gonna take it to trial and fight this, because I could discredit these guys. I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm thinking a lot of bad stuff about revenge, about killing these guys. And once I get out, I'm gonna kill everybody and get back at these guys. And I didn't have any faith in God. I was not a man of God. I was an atheist. So at that time, I didn't believe that there was a God anymore. I believed that everything I've seen and been through, I thought that if there is a God, why is all this stuff happening? So there must not be a God. We got to take matters into our own hand. I thought in my head, the government's crooked, everybody's crooked, so I'm going to just take matters into my own hand. And while I'm there, they put a cellmate in the cell, and his name is Jimmy, and he had been a Christian for a while. He used to be a ex-House Angel guy who is now a Christian, and he starts talking to me about God, because I started telling him about I'm going to hell, but I'm going to take a lot of people with me. I told him, I'm ready. I'm going to go hard until I get killed. And he starts hearing me talk like that really crazy. And he's you know what, there's forgiveness for you. God forgives. God will forgive you if you repent. He asks for forgiveness. And when he started sharing the Bible with me, it started making a lot of sense to me. But I still didn't accept it just like that. I said, well, I want to meet this real God. Then if he's real, the God of the Bible. And we did a prayer, and from that moment, I really experienced something like a powerful, experience from God. I felt something that I never experienced before, that it left me overwhelmed, but at the same time, I felt this inner peace. I had an inner peace that I couldn't explain, but I was super excited and happy inside. I felt forgiveness, but I also felt excited that I knew that this was real. I got forgiven. I felt the forgiveness power.
All from this first prayer, all from Jimmy.
From this first prayer,
okay,
yeah.
God, show yourself, and you say this one prayer, and that's what you feel.
That's where it started, because that journey was a long journey for me. But the first experience got me connected with God, because I really started experiencing the presence of God. Because when I started, Jimmy was only there 5 days, and he was supposed to be my cell. The cell said in the door that not to bunkmate, but they neglected that and they put him in there. So I know that was also God allowing to happen.
Sure.
So then he gets moved, and I start reading the Bible. I started learning how to just talk to God. I didn't know how to pray. I know nothing about God. I didn't know the Bible, but I just knew that I'm just gonna talk. I'm gonna ask. And then every time I brought something up to him, like I was being honest. Hey, I don't know you, but I want to know you. If you're real, show yourself, because I need to know you. Because if not, this is, to me, it's gonna be where I'm still gonna go where I need to go and do what I'm gonna do, because I know that this is like something new for me, and if I'm going to get put in general population with other inmates, I'm going to have to take people out, or something's going to happen, because I'm not going to allow anybody to disrespect me or bother me, because I am an ex-cop. So 3 months later, I get put in general population, and now I'm in general population. And the second day, the gang members knew I was a cop, so they told me, ex-cops, they told me, hey, you need to leave. We don't want you in the yard. You need to go back to the shoe. But I told him, I'm not going to the shoe. I said, if I go to the shoe, we're going to go together. We're going to have to go into the cell and take care of it. So basically, I told him we're going to have to fight. And the 3 guys, the shot caller kind of backed down and said, you know what? Prove it that you're not. And then as I'm talking to him, I knew where he is from, what neighborhood he is from, and his boss was my friend. So I asked him, hey, you know so-and-so? He goes, yeah, that's my boss. That's my friend, basically. I will call him up and ask him about me. So they asked them, and whatever they talked about, they left me alone after that. So I walked the yard for 2 years, general population, at peace, doing my own thing, reading the Bible, study, doing Bible classes. I was doing correspondence books, and I was learning about forgiveness, forgiving people. So I took a lot of classes on how to forgive people because I had a lot of stored up stuff inside me because I still would manifest anger that made me want to hurt somebody. So I wasn't healed all of a sudden because I did this prayer. It was going to be a journey, and I had to put in work too, and I had to trust God that He was going to work in me. Whatever junk inside me, trauma, anger was in me for so many years, it was going to take work. So 2 years I get sentenced to the first case, and then they moved me to San Marino County Jail where I'm stuck for there 5 years in the SHU. Solitary confinement, 5 years with nothing but lifers, inmate, dropouts, Aryan brothers, hardcore Nazi loyalists, hardcore gang members that are there, single cells, and we're all in the SHU together. And to me, I consider my enemies back then because they remind me of my stepdad, who was a bully. So I had one bully in my life, that was my stepdad, because I allowed him to be a bully in my life because I thought I'm supposed to allow him to beat me or talk to me the way he talked to me. But anybody else in the street can not talk to me like that, disrespect, because I'll lose it. I'll beat him up. So when I'm in the SHU, anybody that would trigger me, the first thing I want to do is mess them up.
Yeah. So
then I needed to start getting to a lot of heavy prayers, and then I really started crying for help. Like I told God, put somebody in my life that can help me because I want to mess some people up, and I can't hold my anger. I want to blow up and start cussing. I want to do some damage, and I reached out to some counselors, some Christian psychologists that came to visit me, and they started doing some inner healing prayers with me. And they started working on my childhood events, traumas, uprooted childhood issues. They started going deep, dealing with the inner child stuff. We started doing a lot of different prayers, a lot of different stuff. And I started feeling the difference within me. I started feeling the inner peace, the inner healing that was happening through this whole process. Well, they would come once in a while, but then I would have to work on myself too. They sent me books, materials to study. I got connected with other ministries. I was hungry, but I was also desperate. I wanted this healing.
Yeah.
I wanted this healing because I didn't want to, in there, I wasn't going to use drugs. Everybody else in there would use drugs, self-medicate with alcohol or heroin, whatever they had in there, they'll use it. Oxycontin, you name it, they had it, they'll find it and they'll use it. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do any type of dope. I wanted to just heal naturally, well, supernaturally with prayer and God's help.
Right.
So there I am, digging and seeking, and I started feeling this ongoing process of healing. I feel my heart, my mind, the clarity, things that are happening that I know they're not from man, and I'm just praying and working on my Bible studies, and then I started doing Bible studies in the tier with all the gang members. Every Sunday, I'll tell the guys, "Hey, I want to do a Bible study," because I had some guys that were there for 2 murders, 3 murders. They were my friends, but they're also Christians. But they wanted me to read. They're ex-gang members. They wanted me to read the Bible, but we couldn't really be celled up together. We're in a single cell. We're solitary confinement in the SHU, and it's for everybody because people they can't get along, so we have to just be separated, right?
Right.
So I asked the guys if I could just go on the tier every Sunday, 1 hour a day, and do a Bible study for 1 hour, and then they could watch the football. So they said, yeah, they agreed. So here I am doing the Bible study for like 13 old grown men from different backgrounds, different gangs and stuff. And here I am, Mr. Ex-Cop, being used by God to preach to these guys.
Amazing.
So I started planting seeds, and then I got sentenced to my second indictment. I got 18 years. I had already been in 7 years. So they sent me to the yard in Arizona for 2 years. I did time in there. I did everywhere I went, I was established myself. I'll tell the shot callers from the Mexicans that I'm the truth, who I am, why I'm there, because right away they want to recruit you.
Right.
When you hit the yards, they want to recruit you into if you're white, you're going to go with the whites. If you're black, you're going to go with the blacks. If you're Asian, with the Asians, Mexican with the Mexicans, gang member from Southern California. So they're going to divide you, separate you with your people. So when I show up, I'm Christian, so I'm going to be with anybody. I'm not going to be in the gang structure setup. And when I show up, I'll still tell the shot callers that are from Mexico who I am, why I'm there. That way, they know that at least I was honest with them.
Right.
And then I'll do my program out of respect. I still talk to them, and I'll plant seeds wherever I went. So I started doing Bible studies every year I went. I went to Long after that, went to Mendota. They moved me to Texas, Colorado, Oklahoma. So I got moved around for 16 years. But everywhere I went, I established myself, and I established counseling classes in prison. I did whatever I did to help other people in there. And at the same time, I was still healing. But I knew that I had already gained a lot of ground in my own healing.
Sure. Sure.
But it took time. It took work. I had to put in work. I had to look for material work, the right people that were. There's a lot of people that have some type of background that can help you certain ways, but there's part of the puzzle, but you can't stop there. Because if you're difficult, you have complicated issues. Like I had a bunch of different issues. You have to reach out to different professionals.
Yeah.
Or different people that know what they're talking about. And a lot of it has to do also with training. Got to put the right people in your path, because I started looking into different issues, and I started applying their material, or researching the material, and I apply it for myself, and I start seeing the results. I learned a lot about the inner child, and a lot of us have a lot of damage in that area, and nobody has ever ministered to the inner child.
Mm.
And there's a lot of areas in healing that you need, strongholds in your life, different things, triggers. So I learned a lot because of my own issues. So I was able to work with difficult situations, difficult people, because of all the issues I had. Because I had a lot of PTSD because of the shootings, child abuse, and things that I went through growing up that damaged me. And I didn't know that this stuff made me the person I became, because I allowed this to basically, I shut down, and I lost sensitivity. I had no emotions. I was emotionless. As a cop, I was numb. I could see death like nothing. I could see people die like nothing. If I shot that guy, I could shoot a person like nothing. So I was very desensitized, and that's dangerous.
Yeah.
And there I was, and yeah.
No, what a story. Absolutely incredible. And I'm just wondering, you do that first prayer. I'm going back to the first prayer, but when does it like dawn on you? When do you realize that God is like working through you and working through who you are, and you're starting to become this beacon of God, of a higher power, and you start helping people, even though you're sitting in a jail cell with the worst gang members, right, across the board, but you're sort of becoming friendly with them almost, but you're there to help them. When do you realize, like, you know what, there's a higher purpose for me here?
It was like 5-6 months into my situation, because it took me 3 months to do that prayer. And then when I got in general population, I met a pastor that went to prison and prayed for me, another prayer, and I got baptized in the Holy Spirit, and I started experiencing some very deep stuff that I never believed in supernatural stuff. I never believed in miracles. I didn't believe in nothing like that. I didn't believe in demonic stuff. I didn't believe nothing.
Sure.
And when I'm there and I got prayed for, I experienced some supernatural manifestation that left me in awe. And I knew that the Bible was real. So here I am. I'm thinking. So then I told God, use me. Well, I'm here. Use me. Because what happened to me is, when I was a cop, I would arrest gang members and get rid of, like, say, 10 gang members from an apartment complex who was selling drugs and scaring people and intimidating the landlords, and you name it. I'll get rid of them and book them for narcotics. And I felt good because I cleaned the apartments up.
Right.
And I felt good because I made it safe for the citizens there.
Sure.
I felt good about that. But then I didn't know, when I went to prison, I saw that I didn't do anything, because they were in prison getting smarter, learning more, getting more connections, and they're going to go home to the same thing. So I said, well, if I preach to them and I counsel them here and help them get their life right, when they go home, they won't go home the same. They won't be terrorists. They won't be criminals. They won't be thieves. They won't be druggies. So I started asking God to use me while I'm here, because this is where you have me, and this is where I put myself because of my crimes. So I know you have a purpose for me. So I said, so he started putting people in my path that I could work with. I started working on people, doing Bible studies, and I started planting the seeds. But I started helping men in there who are broken restore their life, or get their mind right, get their spirit, their soul right. And I started seeing the power of God moving in my life. And I started seeing how people were coming to me. I started a class with 3 people, and by the time I was leaving that building in that prison, in a year or a little bit over, like a year and a half, we had like 60 people in the Bible study. And it was getting packed, and people were coming to the classes. So I already knew, I felt the presence. I knew that was a purpose in my life, a bigger purpose, and not to be a cop, not to be arresting people. It was more to see people get their life right and heal with his power. And then when I got moved to the shoot for those 5 years, I still was not forgetting them on my purpose, because in there I got to reach the difficult guys who nobody else is going to reach, because these were guys in solitary confinement who were never going to be in general population, who I got to minister to and talk to and pray for. And guys that were lifers, guys that were there for murders, they were there for not ever going to get out of prison, or they were going to, be put in different different prisons. But I got to plant seeds, and then everywhere I went, I started seeing the hand of God move in my life. I got to meet guys that had some major PTSD, different traumas, flashbacks, nightmares, who actually started healing too, and started. One of them had flashbacks, nightmares. She was suicidal. I did a couple sessions with him, prayer sessions with him for I did like 3 or 4. He got healed from the nightmares, the flashbacks, and the depression, the suicide, and now he has a master's in Christian psychology, Christian counseling, and they took 6 years off his case. But he also wrote a book already, and he lives in Antioch, up north, Northern California. Now he's a chaplain, and he's helping other people in drug homes. He's helping people out, and
Unbelievable.
this is one of many people that have been able to, I guess, say God used me for these individuals.
You said you worked with him, like you knew you did some studies with him, you did some prayer work with him. Like, how did you know? Is this how you worked on yourself and what you had learned, and you took that and you brought it to these other guys, or you asked
Yes.
God, like, show me how to do it. So you were
So
learn from what happened to you, and you shared that what happened to you with the other guys. Is that correct?
yeah, in my courses I took also and give you a lot of insight on how to minister to a human being, a person. So we go into asking the questions of your mom, relation with your mom and dad. We get into talking about their upbringing. How
Mm,
was your relation with your mom and dad? Tell me about your dad. Tell me about your mom. So I can find out where the trauma is at, the root, the cause, the anger, the bitterness. It starts there if they have a parent. If they don't have a parent, it's still absence, it's still abandonment issues. They can still have rejection issues. They have so many things that are in there missing because there's the lack of, and the thing that the parents should have given them to nourish them is missing. So then you wonder, where are they filling it with? What are they filling it with? What's
yeah.
missing? So we get into the deep stuff, and then
That's
you start ministering to the inner child too. You minister to the inner child after you talk to them about what we're doing now as an adult, and then start working with them.
yeah.
Forgiveness is key. Also, I talk about forgiving people. Why forgiveness is for you, not for the person that you're forgiving,
Yeah.
and how that opens the door for everything to start coming together, and how you start getting like the pressure gets released. So you can start finally healing from your past, because your past is not your past until you forgive. It's your present every day. If you're still living in it, you're living in it every day until you heal. Until you start healing, you start forgiving, because it's your present every day. It's not your past, because you're
Incredible.
still bound by it, still controls you, still holds you. So we get into that stuff. We get deep.
That's it's amazing. I've learned recently, when I say recently, I don't know, past year or so, that the numbers, I think it's 100% people that suffer from addiction or alcoholism at some point in their lives, they suffer from some sort of childhood trauma. And, that can mean so many different things. And, you're talking about the inner child and the traumas that you have gone through. And, that's what you're touching upon now, right? You're
Yes.
that's the deep dive, right? You're going back to when we were kids, and
Yes.
funny, like I hear often, in fact, my sponsor, I've been sober 17 plus years, but my sponsor even says it like off the cuff, deep down, he's still to this day just a scared little child, and it's the little child
Right.
who needs to be healed. And
Yes.
you're talking about some stuff that's really eye-opening to me, and sort of a not a new topic, a newish topic, I'd say, for myself. And this came up to me just the other day, recently, this week, in fact. My dad, he wasn't very physical, but he had his addictions and he had his things, and I saw things normal, 9, 10-year-old kids aren't supposed to see. And I think I have my own sort of childhood trauma for sure. But I remember, there was always these, like, tough characters in and out of my house, and people partying and stuff. And I remember coming around the corner,
Right.
when like 9 or 10 years old, and I'm coming outside, and I see one of his buddies, smoke. I guess he was smoking something, and I called him out on it. I was a little kid. I'm like, "Oh, I know what you're doing." And the guy, he like he yelled at me and scared the shit out of me, and I jolted, and it's so weird. Just felt it this week, and it's not even that quick moment of being so scared as a kid, but what happened from there at that point on, Ruben, was I felt like a coward for not standing up for myself to him. And like
Right.
held this for so long, like for you into my adulthood, and I think as I got
Right.
older, I acted out. Like, I'm laughing, I have instincts that I like to trust my instincts. When I was 16, I assaulted a police officer. I think if you were the cop, I think my instincts would have told me to not attack you. I don't know. I hope so, at least, because I don't think I would have lasted very long. But first degree assault of a police officer, 16. I got a lot of assaults and trouble through the
Right.
years, but I think it's part of that. Like, I never wanted to feel like a coward ever again, and I almost
Right.
overcompensated for it at times.
And you overdid it too. You build that image just because you want trying to prove something to yourself, and that's where it's unhealthy. Yeah.
No doubt, man. Like, and I say that to myself all the time. Like, that became, I got the record to prove it. With all the trouble and assaults and stuff, but
It was a quick trigger too.
yeah, but I never felt like it was really me. Like, even though I didn't realize that, so even though when you're in it, you don't realize it. In sobriety, Ruben, like, I've looked at myself a lot, especially over the years, and done some inner work. Not a whole lot on the inner child, what you're talking about, but yes, I
Right.
overcompensated, and even to this day, it's like it bothers me because I think at my core, it's not who I really was. I became it, but
Yeah.
not who I was. You know what I mean?
And it was just for one person with such a situation like that. And I understand because that's what happened to me growing up with my stepdad. That anybody else that tried to disrespect, I would stand up and do stuff.
Yeah.
And I rebelled against the system because I rebelled against him. So, yeah, I could understand how it follows us.
Yeah, it stays with me. I mean, actually, up until literally this week, it came up, and I was like, man, I haven't thought about that in a while. And like I said, it's not even, it's not even the actual event. It's the carrying it for the rest of my life. Like I said, I remember crying because this is a grown man. I was 10 years old at the time. As a grown man, and I remember like
Yeah,
crying, like, you're a coward, calling myself, you're
yeah,
afraid. And I'm telling myself, like, I'm not gonna do that again. If that ever happens again, I'm gonna stand up to him. I can take him. I
right.
know I can take him. I can take. I was a little 10-year-old kid, but
You're a
that's what
10-year-old
started turning
kid.
to. Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's what
that's what you
started
have to
turning.
mention to the little guy, and you gotta remind him that you don't have to fight or stand up to yourself for that. That was your dad's job to protect you.
Yeah,
And you have to remind yourself, but that's what the ministry to the inner child comes with. That when you tell the little guy, hey, that's what the counselor does. He'll minister to the 10-year-old and say, hey, you can relax, you can let that go because
yeah,
your father was your protector. You could, if you got intimidated by a big man, you tell your dad, hey, dad, this is why your dad did right for you, not you. So then when you understand that, you feel safer because you realize that, yeah, now as a grown man, you can still know when to set boundaries and communicate, but also know that there's not all the time you have to fight somebody or stand up the wrong in an aggressive manner. Because now we have our higher power. Our God's going to be our protector,
yeah, man. Yeah, and it was in
It's a big
sobriety.
difference because I went to prison. Yeah, and I went to prison thinking I got to take care of business in here. And whoever got to whack, I'm going to whack and do what I
Yeah,
have to do. And I have an extensive background in the martial arts, which I mean, I could handle these. I've been fighting all my life, and
yeah,
I'm trained for this. But then at the same time, I want to be godly and I want to represent God. So it's battle for me. So I would tell God, I'll pray, hey, you know what? I'm not. I don't really trust you enough yet for you to take care of business for me. But I have to deal with this guy over here and help me out, so I don't have to kill this guy because if not, I'm gonna have to whack him. And I'll pray like that because I was being honest. I'm
yeah,
dealing with the guy talking behind my back. He's gonna put some metal in me, which means he's gonna stab me with a bone crusher. And in my mind, I'm saying, well, yeah, I'm gonna kill him first.
yeah,
So I'm telling God, hey, you know what? You heard what that guy did or said behind my back. I'm gonna handle him before he trying to get me while I'm sleeping. And I said, but if you can help, I know you could help me, but I need you to learn how to trust you, help me out, so I don't have to do this because I want to do good and things will get resolved. But yeah, that's how I would talk because I thought I only knew how to take care of myself.
all right. So you'd
But I
say these
found out that he
prayers.
looks out, huh?
But you would say these prayers, and they would get resolved. They would resolve themselves before you had to. Is that
Yeah,
what
because
that part of
yeah,
the
well,
transition into you?
yeah,
Like,
well, what happened is I would feel God. I would feel like God saying, "You go talk to him. Go talk to him." I didn't ever talk to people because I just take him down or hurt him, do whatever. But I never talked. That was one of my problems. I don't know how. I didn't communicate. I don't know how to communicate before. My communication was violence because my
right,
stepdad was violent to me, and he communicated with violence only, and I didn't know anything else. So when I would think I have to deal with somebody, and violence is the answer. So when that one time with that guy, the lifer, I went and talked to him, and when I talked to him the right way, I broke him down. He really was shocked that nobody's ever talked to him that way. Because I was straight up with him. I said, look, man, I'm in trouble with you. I'm trying to be good. I got my Bible, trying to keep my Bible read up, but you're testing me, you're pushing me. I'm try not to get any hurt you, man. I don't care what you think, who you think you are, but I don't care either. I'm not trying to get involved in fights, man. But if I have to get you, I'm gonna get you. So let's try to get along better, man. And
mm,
and I'm here to do my time. You want to do your time. I talked the way I could talk, and you know what? The guy was like humbled, man. Him and I got along after that. So I knew that I was having to learn these new things, but at the same time, it was hard because I only knew the violent part of it,
Right.
and it was a process. And I know that God did tell me to go talk to him
Unbelievable. It's amazing.
because I wouldn't have done it. I would handle him.
Right.
Yeah.
The only way Ruben knew how
So
to do
yeah,
it,
it was
right?
my healing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
We talk a
that's
lot
it.
about, we talk a lot about resentments, in recovery, as I'm sure you're aware. And, you touched upon it just before too. Like, it's in the
Yeah,
forgiveness, and that's when you make the
it is.
amends and you forgive. Like, it took me a while. Like, I have a good relationship with my dad. I always did kind of growing up, but it was very complicated. But it wasn't until I made an amends to him and I guess forgave him as well. But I made an amends in some of the things that I had done because, I
Right,
had it out too. And I put him through shit too. Like,
right,
I have a 9-year-old son today too. Like, I don't want to wake up, I don't want to wake up and see him in trouble the way I was in trouble.
right,
So, but that was the most freeing moment for me with him ever.
right.
And
It
since
feels
that
good,
day,
huh?
since
Yeah,
that day, we've been on the level like playing field. Like we can look at it like, we both know where we stand. I love him, he loves me, and there's the relationship is just like I said, it's honest today and it's real, and it's all because of doing that little exercise of forgiveness and making amends,
yes.
taking care of my side of the street. And amazing. So you're in there. So tell us about when you're getting out now, because you're in there you did a total of 18 years, 16.
16 years. They gave me 18, but I did the 16. As a federal charge, they make you do 85%. So they want to
Right,
make sure you do most of your time. So I did
right,
the 16 years, and I get out, and I've been prepping myself when I come home. While I'm in there, I'm working on myself because I know who I was and what are my capabilities when I'm not that this new person. And I didn't want to come home to violence. I didn't want to come home to revenge. I wanted to come home to peace and the new person that I was, and I wanted to deal with my triggers. So I get home, and I start my new life, and my goal was to come home and build a ministry for people with every level of trauma, not just PTSD, but you have different people with different stuff going on in their life, addictions, depression, suicidal stuff going on. You name it. My goal was to work with people, but also work with cops, because a lot of cops have so much unresolved issue that they're working, and they're not going to stop seeing the stuff they see, and they're going to stop. They're not, the trauma keeps building up because they continually work and go back to work and see new events in their life. So either they become callous and they're not functioning normal. So we're having a lot of problems with the departments now because of that. And the community doesn't understand that you're dealing with broken human beings with a uniform who are
mm,
not superhuman,
yeah,
and they're full of garbage, but there's no way for them to go out and get the help because they don't want to admit it. Because if they admit it, then they're going to be looked upon, and they're going to be thinking, oh, this guy's a risk, a liability now. We can't have him on the department. They don't want to lose their job.
yeah,
The military guys get help because they don't want to be in the military. They want to get kicked out, or they want treatment because they need treatment, but they also rather deal with the other stuff because it's not a career. Like, they don't want to make it a career anymore. Like the department, the cops like their paycheck, they like their jobs. Some probably don't anymore, but the job itself carries a lot of different. You can say garbage and get dirty. You're gonna get dirty,
yeah,
but they're not teaching you how to deal with how to take the dirt off your body. And when you see something, you take it with you. You see a
mhm,
child, an infant die in front of your arms, or you try to help die. It messes when you have to shoot somebody, or you see a dead person, a mom. It starts messing with you,
yeah,
and then you become inhuman, so you don't have to feel that pain anymore, or the process of what it feels like to see that. You
right,
numb yourself, and they're not getting help. So my goal is to, because I shouldn't have been I shouldn't have went to prison. I should have been a good retired cop. I should have did my goal as a retired cop and do right in the community, but I didn't. So I was mad at myself and saying there's something that has to be done, because this is not who I was, and this is not what I signed up to be. I didn't become a cop to be what I did, to do what I did. And then when I did it all, I was already in a dark place that nothing could convince me that I was right or wrong what I was doing, because I was getting revenge.
right,
And I didn't have a foundation in God. I had the scriptures in my life. So I didn't have a solid foundation. I built a sandy foundation. So there I
yeah,
was, being who I thought I to be, a man, getting revenge, and then it cost me all that time. But at the same time, God used to save my life.
Yeah. Amazing.
And now
Amazing.
that's what I'm doing. I'm building mental health programs, but I teach martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and I build these programs so I could use it as a hook to attract people. And then we work on the mental health part of it too. But it's therapy. Boxing is therapy. Punching pads, punching the bag is therapy. Working out is healthy. So it balances out. You work on your physical part of you, but then you also got to work on your mental emotional part of you too. That's not going to cut it by working out. You need to go deeper.
Yeah.
So I work with that. I tell them this is what you need. You need more. You can't just work out one day. It's like taking Tylenol and get rid of the headache for an hour or 2 hours, but you're still going to have the symptom cause a headache.
Right. You're not addressing the issue.
You're not addressing the rooted issue. So
Yeah.
we do. Yeah.
I know you do things in person. Do you do stuff helping people like online and stuff like that? Like, can you
I
tell us about
do.
that?
Yeah, I
Please
do
tell
that
us.
too. I do on either phone or Zoom or FaceTime. I get invited to do Zoom stuff too for people, but I also do one-on-ones. I do group stuff. I do speaking engagements. I get invited to speak at different functions. So I could either just for the awareness or the insight on red flags, what you look for in people. I speak on suicide. I do speak on the mental health part of PTSD, everything that comes with PTSD. Um, I'm always invited to do different events, and also I speak on the red flags as a police officer, the slippery slope, how to detect it in the cop, and I'm doing other events to make more awareness to the department so they could realize that there's got to be better programs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I go speak. I get invited. So and I do my own thing with my one-on-ones or groups.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. When you're telling your story and when you first got in trouble with your cousins and everything, and it turns out it was a sting operation. My first, reaction when you were telling me, I was like, oh man, that sucks. But quickly after, and I think you even touched upon it as yourself, is, that may have been one of the, in a way, one of the best things that ever happened to you, that you got into that
It
trouble.
was. I was on a good one, and I did that. Well, a lot of people don't understand, but I was cold blooded, and that night I was gonna take 3 people out, so I
Mm.
got arrested on time,
Wow.
and I'm glad I didn't do it because who knows what the outcome would have been like.
Yeah.
So God stopped me by letting me get arrested in this incident. It had nothing to do with me. The 10 kilos, they knew I didn't buy drugs. Those 10 kilos were not for me or mine. I wasn't into buying drugs. I was jacking people's drugs. So why am I going to go buy dope when I got a house full a ton of weed over? I could go jack that guy's weed
Right.
and go rob the guy for his 50, 100 kilos of cocaine. I'm gonna rob you. I'm not gonna buy anything from you. I'm a
Right.
dirty cop. What's wrong with you guys? So you know, so when they booked me, I was like, told you guys, you guys, no, I don't buy no dope. But I told my co-defendants because they put us in the court together one day, and I told them in court. And I said, look, guys, you guys better not be snitching. Don't be cowards. Take your lumps, man up. They got us for 10 kilos. We all got caught for 10 kilos. Tough it out, man up, and that's that. Don't open your mouth on my stuff because this has nothing to do with your guys' stuff.
Yeah.
But they didn't listen. They were already snitching on me.
Oh man, unbelievable. But
Yeah,
again,
it is what it
more
is.
so, yeah. But it led to where you are now, and now you live a life dedicated. Now you have God in your life, and He works through you,
Yes,
of course. But
yes,
you're dedicated, and your mission in life is to help people. I ask
yes,
people a lot, Ruben, like, what would you tell yourself? What would you tell 16-year-old Ruben? But you live that. You live that every single day. You see, versions of yourself, younger self, I'm
yes,
sure, out there where you are, and your
yes,
life's mission is to help those people.
yes. And the thing is, like you talked about your dad. I forgave my dad, my stepdad too, because I didn't know he was my stepdad till I was 17 years old. Because I always thought he was my real dad. They hid that from me. He told me when I was 17 that he was my real dad, and he was telling me, I'm not just dad, but I love you, my son. But he was drunk. He was always drunk, telling me these things, and I would never pay attention to nothing.
Right.
My mom heard him tell me that, so she calls me to the kitchen and said, "Hey, what's your dad telling you?" I go, "Mom, he says he's not my dad." So my mom started crying, and she's, "What if I tell you it's true?" So I was like, "What? I don't want to
Oh,
hear it right now."
right.
Because I was getting ready I was still training and during that time I was trying to go to the '88 Olympics because it was '87. So I thought I could go, if I go to the '88 Olympics, even if I don't win them, I was 17 years old, I could still get the experience.
Yeah, and come back in
Well,
92.
and yeah, but when they kicked me out of the team because I wasn't a citizen. So but when all that happened, I didn't want to listen to nobody because I just focused on my boxing career.
Sure.
So when all this came down and I got arrested and I got in trouble, my mom said that my dad was blaming himself. And I told my mom, he ain't guilty. I did it to myself. Now, did he contribute to my behavior and attitude of how I became because I was a mean, tough kid? I mean, he added because he was a tough dude and abusive. But I also thank him for the things I needed to learn from him too,
Right.
because it made me a strong kid, and I was nobody's victim.
Right.
So I was grateful for the other stuff too. So then him and I started talking, and I said, "Hey, Dad, why were you this angry and bitter? What was wrong with you?" He told me that in Mexico, he saw his dad try to kill his mom twice. And then he rescued her one day. When he took her to the hospital, he was 16 and she died in his arms when he was 16. So he was traumatized. So he had a lot of bitterness towards his dad.
Right.
So I started talking to him, and then he finally got prayed for. He gave his life to Jesus. He forgave his dad, and he stopped drinking. At 61 years old, he stopped drinking.
Wow.
And I was 1 year in prison. Yeah, 1 year in prison when this happened. I had been praying for him and fasting for him.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a miracle right there, and I was grateful for that. And then he stopped drinking. He lived till 80 years old. So when I got home, I got to spend 2 years with him to get, we had a good time.
You had a good 2 years with him?
Yeah, good 2 years with him. Yeah. So I mean, when he was not drunk, he was a funny guy. He was a good dude, funny guy,
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a good relationship.
That's amazing.
But going back to your situation with that guy, I go back where I was thinking what the trigger. Well, you have to understand that when you're 10, you were in some grown folks' business when you did tell that guy that, you know what I mean, right? And he got mad at you. So he's being a grown man trying to say, "Hey, young man, but off this is my business."
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, you don't want some little shit coming up and pointing and talking shit. No, I get it. You're 100%.
Yeah. So
I never looked at that part.
Yeah. So the part about it is it helps you understand where you were right and where you were wrong too, so you could heal. That could be the trigger. Be gone.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Because I like that whole bigger picture.
It's funny.
When I work with people.
Yeah. See, I never once even looked at my part of that, even though I was supposed to. Like, I never even looked at. You're right.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what he was doing, some little kid, it's not his place to go pointing and calling him out and making a big ruckus. So yeah. He probably got scared. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you scared him. Yeah.
So that's what happened.
Put me on blast. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it's amazing. Some little episode like that, right? And that fucking, I had that I've held that with me my whole life, man. Holy shit.
So you forgive yourself, you forgive the guy, and things you move forward. It's a good fix.
I'm already feeling it right now. Honest to God, man. Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, for real. Holy shit. Amazing. So I know there's already at least one book on you that written. How about a movie? I mean, you must have been approached about some movies, man, for sure.
They've approached me now. I'm waiting for the different directors to come back and start one of them, but I'm waiting for the right movie. But yeah, I do have some individuals that are reaching out to me, and I want it to be something positive because I wanted to give a positive message too. And it's a redemption story, not just a crime story,
No doubt.
We got to see the good. We got to see the good.
No, this whole story is more of a redemption story. Yeah, no, without a doubt. Oh my God, are you kidding me? For sure. It's one of the best stories I've ever heard.
It's the power of God in a human being that surrenders, because to be honest, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. Reality, I could not fix myself, or I cannot stop being a crazy guy. I cannot stop being violent. I cannot stop loving the adrenaline, the women, everything I was about. It was addicting. I liked it all, and I wasn't going to stop. But when I did surrender my life to Jesus, I started realizing that there is no way I could stop doing it, even if I want to. Because no matter how much I struggled in there, because even though I tried to force myself to stop being violent in prison, angry in prison, and I was reading the Bible, I could still not stop. And I needed to get deep to find out what's wrong with me. I didn't have the answers for what I was going through. No matter how much I read and prayed, I need some deeper help, and it had to be supernatural. Amazing. And that's why I started healing.
Yeah. That's amazing. Ruben, where can we're gonna put them all in the show notes and all, but like, where's your website and where's the best way to find you?
The website, the best way to find me right now, because I have a website, but it's more like my it's called President MMA, but I don't want to use that one no more. I'm building a new one. This one was used for my martial arts and partial my content, but right now I'm getting a new one. This is my email is called I have a new one. It's Ruben number 4. The letter F as in Frank, B as in boy, at Gmail. That's the one I'm using right now. I'm building a YouTube channel. It's called Redeem Warrior 91.
Love it. Team Warrior 91.
And the reason for 91 is because it's for Psalm 91.
Okay. Can you share Psalm 91 with us?
Yeah, that psalm has to do with God's protection over you from anything, from enemies, from sicknesses, diseases, and there's so many. It's a long prayer. I don't have it memorized,
No, that's all
but
right. That's the gist
but
of it.
it's a long prayer, and it's a
Yep,
good prayer. And I prayed every day for me, my family, my kids. Sorry.
no problem.
And the thing about it is, I'm trying to do something at the same time. So my throat got scratchy. So the prayer, I had no control over my children's lives while I
Yeah,
was in there. I knew that my parents, my family, but I knew that if I just trust God to protect my children, because I have 5 children with my
yeah,
exes, so I knew that I put myself there and I had to make the best out of everything. But I still want to build a relationship with my children, so I would pray for them every day. Psalm 91 for protection.
got it.
God kept them all safe and protected. All my kids are successful. Thank God for that. But every one of them is doing well, has done well. And I really believe that when a father prays and a mother prays for their children, God takes care of business. And I believe that 100%. I saw with my own eyes. A lot of parents that are in prison without their kids struggle so much trying to control their kids that they make it difficult for the kids because they don't know that that's not the way it functions.
Amazing.
And you have to love them and you have to encourage them, build them up while you're in there because they're going through their own little suffering too.
Yeah,
So pretty much, I learned stuff through that, but I had to practice it. It was not easy. It wasn't easy, but believe me, it was rewarding, and it's a blessing when you put it into practice.
absolutely. It certainly sounds like it was worth it. I know it was worth it for sure.
It was those 5 years in the shoe. I did 7 years in solitary confinement, but the 5 years straight, I have to admit that those were the best years because even though it was a single cell, 23, 24-hour lockdown, I got closer to God, but also got closer to myself because I got to dig deep in my own heart with all my issues. I couldn't run from my issues.
Yeah.
I had to face them because if not, I was going to mess up. I was going to do something stupid. I was going to do something crazy. And I had to either do God's will or Ruben's crazy will. And I said, this is not, there's no two choices only. I only have three. I have two. I can't leave. I'm stuck right here.
You're
So I got to
stuck.
face it. I got to face it the right way or the wrong way. But the wrong way is going to get me in trouble or it's going to be bigger. So I said, I'm trying to be good. And I said, right, I'm going to do what you say.
Amazing.
And it worked out.
Let me ask you, have you ever, for lack of a better word, I would say ran into, but the man, Jimmy, that God put in your cell when there's only supposed to be one in each cell, but he put this man from the Hells Angels, Jimmy, first person that introduced the Bible to you. Is he aware of where you are, what you're doing? Like, have you ever seen him again, contacted him again?
Yeah, I actually talked to him. I think 3 years ago. He's in San Diego. He owns a construction company, and he helps guys that get out of prison get trained up to get a job.
Yeah.
My buddy who was helping me write my book interviewed him a few years back and talked to him, and we talked on the phone. He's doing really good. I'm glad he's doing good. He's helping other people out there, and I'm grateful for the connection, the way it worked out.
Yeah, man.
The divine connection.
Divine connection, higher power, God at work.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, powerful.
When your book is ready and your YouTube channel and all that stuff is, we're gonna come back and we're gonna promote all of it out. We're gonna blast it out on my channel for sure because
Yeah, awesome.
you help so many people just on this. You helped me. You helped me just in this conversation, man. I told you offline, like the mantra is to help one person today, and I know you helped me.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that one person to be me, but I know you're gonna help a lot of people when this airs, man. And I can't thank you enough. Your story is absolutely stunning and absolutely incredible. And you're a man of God today. And man, it's I can't thank you enough for coming on. And I reached out to you on Instagram. You answered me right away, and you booked right away. And it just shows what kind of man you are in a small little sample. But it's a pleasure to have you. I'm grateful to have met you. I'm grateful you're in my life, Ruben. And thank you so much for all your time. We're gonna do this again, all right? When you got some more stuff rocking and rolling,
yeah.
we're
I
gonna do
want
this
I want
again.
to do it again. Yeah, I don't mind, and it's also awesome to whoever's listening to plant the seeds and know that there is resources, there's help. You're not alone, no matter what people are going through. It they got you got to understand. Don't isolate yourself, but you have to have the kick in the butt and courage to step up and get help. Ask somebody.
Absolutely. Without
Always know.
100%. I don't know where
Yeah,
this podcast came from, to be honest with you. It wasn't like on my
right.
radar, but there's a higher purpose with the podcast, and it's to help one person, let them know that they're not alone. They don't have to live the way they're living right now, and they can completely transform their life.
Yeah, I agree, and just like your life has been changed through your work
Absolutely.
and your decisions, mine too. So we just keep passing it on because the next person's gonna do the same thing. And it's amazing because I got to see miracles in prison where you're in the pit of hell. There's so much negativity.
Yeah.
I got to see miracles in there. And I tell people, you guys don't even know what I went through. I walked the yards, active yards, with a big old smile. I said, I walked on, and I had the biggest peace and smile. And everybody wondered, why is that guy always smiling? They don't know what God was doing in here. That I was feeling happy and joy. And I would get guys to work out with me, and they just told me later on. They would tell me, you know what, we started one. They liked my workouts, but then they said, you know what? Well, the main thing that got me attracted to you is you always smile. I want to know why this dude is always smiling, doing all this time in prison. And when they started finding out, they go, dang, now I get it.
Amazing. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Why, this guy looks actually happy in here. What's he
Yeah.
what he's got, man? I want to talk to that guy.
I want some of that. I need some.
Man. Yeah, bud. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ruben, like I said, we're going to do this again. We're going to stay in touch.
Okay.
Sure. You stay in touch as well when stuff starts popping up. And, I'm going to support you 100% every way I can. And I look forward to doing this again, man.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being here, and God bless.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another powerful episode of the Begin Again podcast. We sincerely appreciate your time and support. We hope that today's conversation has ignited a spark within you, affirming that recovery is not only attainable, but can also be a wellspring of strength and resilience. Our ultimate goal is to make a difference in someone's life every single day. By sharing these stories of redemption, we strive to empower you and inspire you to unlock your fullest potential, facilitate positive transformations, and contribute to creating a better future for yourself, for your loved ones, and the world at large. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to our show, please share it with them. And if you resonate with our mission and feel compelled to do so, we would greatly appreciate your support through a 5-star review, following us on Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, The Begin Again Podcast. The more positive reviews we receive and the wider our message spreads, the greater our collective ability to help others realize that change is possible in their own lives. Thank you once again for being a part of our community. May you be blessed on your own journey of personal growth and transformation.